Good evening, and welcome to Creative Broadcasting, the station of unlimited possibilities. Presents Creating Your Seat at the Table with your host, Ashley Little, as she welcomes her guest to the table.
Welcome to Creating Your Seat at the Table. I am your host, Dr. Ashley Little, corporate executive by day, award-winning serial entrepreneur by night, CEO and founder of Ashley Little Enterprises, LLC, and founder and owner of Talk Radio and TV Network, LLC. Tonight, we have an amazing special VIP guest by the name of Dr. Tosca Moore. A little bit about her. For over 15 years, Dr. Moore has cared for women as a board-certified obstetrician and gynecologist. She has spent most of her career working exclusively in undeserved communities, working in communities of a limited means, present challenges including battling diseases caused or worsened by poor health choices, healthcare access, food deserts, and ongoing healthcare disparities are factors that influence such decisions. Dr. Moore is determined to provide high-quality care to women with socioeconomic challenges and provide resources to empower them with better options. As a certified AIDS health coach for the last 5 years, she uses her knowledge regarding exercise and nutrition to guide patients in their journey towards healthier lives. As a valedictorian of her high school graduating class, a member of Alpha Epsilon Delta chapter of the Pre-Medicine Society at Cornell University, chapter president of the American Medical Student Association at the School of Medicine, formerly Mount Sinai, chief resident during her residency training, and former chief medical officer at a community health center with 10 sites. Her determination for being a catalyst in the evolution of medicine towards cultural competency and improved representation has made her a leader throughout her life. As founder of Healthy Bump Club, she continues to be a trailblazer, creating a digital platform that educates and facilitates dialogue on women's health with focus on pregnancy-related topics for moms of color. She has gathered a Healthy Bump Club team consisting of all women of color healthcare professionals enthused to share both their clinical knowledge and personal experiences to help other women have safer journeys to and through the first year of motherhood. Dr. Moore is committed to teaching clinicians in training and new graduates, highlighting disparities in healthcare to improve the cultural competency of healthcare workers. She has formally instructed OBGYN residents, medical and nurse practitioner students, as well as licensed mid-level providers. Her passion for reducing healthcare disparities in impoverished communities globally has led to over a decade of mission trips around the world, including countries in the Caribbean, the Dominican Republic, and Cuba, South America, Brazil, and Africa. Dr. Moore's career in medicine is expansive with experience in the areas of academics, community, medicine, research, and utilization review. She spends her leisure time enjoying the arts, outdoor activities with family and friends, events catered to the spiritual enrichment of women in writing. Her mantra is that if you help one woman, you can change her entire family, which can then change her community. Welcome to the table, the amazing Dr. Moore.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Little and the Creative Broadcasting Group. I appreciate you guys having me here this evening. Thank you so much.
You are welcome. I'm humbled to have you at the table, and I know everybody has heard your amazing bio, so please tell us more about your journey.
Oh, my journey has been an interesting one. You know, where I am now is not where if you asked me a decade ago what my vision and dreams were, I'm completely in a different space, but I am where I'm supposed to be. And so I am from the Caribbean island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I grew up there until I was a little girl, and then I relocated to New York City with my mom. And from there, I pretty much did the majority of my schooling and training in New York. Decided to transport myself for a different lifestyle on the West Coast, and that's where I am now. Throughout my career, as you mentioned, I've continued to work in community medicine. I initially did some additional training in pelvic floor medicine, so that's been sort of my passion even still to this day. I continue to apply pelvic floor therapy and knowledge to how I approach women. So it's been such an amazing journey. I am so thankful I'm thankful to have been able to travel the world to study. And I didn't realize it at the time what I was doing, but what ended up happening was I was studying communities of women and how women function just because it's a natural interest of mine. And utilizing all that knowledge, I'm able to have been able to start a company that I'm so excited about, our mission. And we have an amazing team that includes a midwife, 2 mental health providers, a physical therapist, a massage therapist, and we're all women of color. And our mission is to help women of color have safer pregnancies. So we're completely excited and equally passionate about our mission.
I just loved it. I love it. Let's go deeper, Dr. Moore. Let's go deeper into your passion for helping women of color, with their health choices and definitely with, having a better pregnancy. Tell us why you're so passionate about that.
So my passion started out literally just being a part of my community. I grew up in the urban setting in New York City. And from there, I just had a natural inclination to help women. My mom is a very giving and a very charitable person, so I do believe that she has adequately nurtured that part of me. She has a heart for children especially, so I think that sort of introduced me to that particular area, and that led to my passion for helping women. I was helping women even before I decided to go into medicine. So we had always been participating in community activities through our church also, helping, and we just tend to gravitate towards women. So people call that a calling, whatever you want to describe it as. I do believe it's my calling to help women. Why OBGYN? Well, once I matriculated through high school and college, I gravitated towards medicine, and it just completely made sense for me. So just after sort of realizing who I had evolved to be, it just made sense for me to take that particular path. And it's turned out to be the best decision I've made.
I love that. I just love everything that you're doing. And, this space here, it's a lot of opportunity here. And, it's a lot of things that go on with pregnancy in general, right? And definitely with, when you do the research on, a lot of people are going towards the doula now, right? Or the midwife because of things that are happening when they're going straight into the hospital and having their kids, and some people are not. There's a lot of death happening there. So can we talk more about that and why that is happening?
Sure. So there's no surprise that there are elements of racism throughout healthcare. And throughout the entire nation, we can see elements of that through our culture, through our politics, through our social structures. Medicine is no different, and subsequently the care of women have also been no different. So I would say overall we can definitely do better with caring for women, and the statistics, as you mentioned, are quite discouraging, but these statistics are not new. I've been looking at these stats since I was traveling to other countries because I just had a natural inclination to try to understand their healthcare system, and in the process of doing that, I became introduced to the statistics globally and realizing that we're still the only developing country with a rising number of maternal mortality. And then when you subdivide the stats and look at the separate ethnic groups, women of color are at an increased risk for disparity, specifically Black women, Native American women, and Alaskan natives. And all three groups have historically have been marginalized. And so, that experience politically and socially has extended into our care. And what's interesting as we look at those stats even deeper and we look to try to explain what it is, so everyone's looking at these social determinants and people are talking about disparities in terms of food deserts, in terms of access to care, in terms of support, in terms of all these different historical social determinants. But really when you look at them individually, the foundation of all those determinants remain racism. And even so, one of the theories before was, perhaps it's related to education. Well, when we look at those statistics, we find that women of color, specifically black women, are 3 times more likely to die as a result of pregnancy and childbirth-related complications, but women of color who have college education or higher are 5 times more likely. And this is why we take heart to stories of women who are the unexpected victims. So the Serena Williams story brings light to this situation because she thought of the unexpected outcome, right? People would assume she has money, she's educated, she has power. She certainly can't succumb to the same statistics, and that was not the case. And it's because when you look at the underlying factor through all of these elements, it really leads to racism. So the question remains, how then do we uproot that, and how do we correct that issue?
Wow. I hope everybody that's listening is really taking these nuggets down, because this is such an important topic to touch on. And I just, again, Dr. Moore, thank you for, creating this space and really, being a part of the solution. And so when it comes down, I know you, in your bio, we talked about, you're helping women as well, make healthier choices, right? And so what are some things that women who are looking to one day, birth a child, what are some things they should be doing, as far as their health choices and, things that they should be working on and making sure that their health is in good standing, basically?
Sure. So as much, the first thing I would like to start with is the messaging. So as much as we're talking about these stats, we're talking about the stats of black women, and we're talking about the stats of the infants, and we're not overlooking that also. There's disparity in the survival of our infants as well. We also still want to make sure that the messaging itself isn't traumatizing to our sisters. So we want to make sure that people realize, yes, there are absolutely disparities that we have to address, but ultimately most black women survive and do well through pregnancy. This is definitely a topic that needs and warrants further attention, because we haven't even talked about the women who have survived but are traumatized, and that's a whole other discussion. But we do also want to give hope to women. We don't want black women to feel traumatized every time they think about pregnancy or every time they become pregnant. So that's the first step. The second step is there are a lot of ways in which we are actually in control of our health care. So what's important for us to do is to have the right perspective. And the best perspective for me is a woman feeling that she is the CEO of her health care. So we are in charge of our health care, and everyone else are just players on our team, are just consultants. So I'm a consultant to my patients. So they come to me for the training that I've received to give them the knowledge so that they, with us together as a team, can make the right decision for their health care. So that's number one, making sure that people are empowered to know that you are in control of your health care, and you are hiring different members of your team, and that team can include conventional medicine doctors, and it can also include naturopathic doctors, just making sure there's good dialogue between everyone so everyone's on the same path. And then secondary to that, just being proactive about your health care, making sure you're taking notes. When you go to the doctor's office, make sure you take notes. See what that blood pressure is. Be actively involved in your health care. And if you don't have a team that values your participation, then finding a team that does. And even that has its limitation for women of color, right? Because sometimes we're not in communities where it's so easy to have access to begin with. But also making sure that we prepare for a healthy pregnancy before pregnancy. So at the time of pregnancy, it's not the time to start to get healthy. The time to start to get healthy is before we even decide to get pregnant. And that's making sure we're active, we're eating well. And eating well is more than just rhetoric, right? It's actually a form of treatment. Food is a form of treatment for our bodies. And so making sure we're getting those good nutrients, which have been correlated with better mood, with better energy. So you feel better during pregnancy, you have better energy, and you're less likely to have certain outcomes based on your nutritional status. So making sure we gain access to good, healthy food and make sure that we're taking the supplements necessary, the most important of which is folic acid. So making sure that we're taking that folic acid, a minimum of 400 micrograms for at least a month before getting pregnant, and then also assessing with your doctor whether or not you need a higher dose based on your history. And then also knowing our family history. So one of the things we're sometimes limited with knowing our family histories because of adoptions, estrangement, and there are other social factors. But our family history is so key to our health, knowing which side of the family certain disorders run on, and also knowing at what age people tend to be affected. So keep making sure that we're having good dialogue at those holiday tables where we like to gather with family. Add a family history discussion to that holiday celebration that we love to have. And then also finally having the mindset that pregnancy is much more it's much more affecting the body than even running a marathon. So if you tell most of us, let's prepare for a marathon, we go into a certain mindset. Well, we need to have that same mindset when we prepare for pregnancy because of the effects on the body.
Wow. Woo. I just hope our listeners are really writing these nuggets down. Dr. Moore is really sharing a lot of important nuggets tonight that are so important. And so you are a ACE health coach. Tell us more about your services you offer and how people that are listening can, hire you if they need to hire you as their coach.
Sure. So definitely, if you're interested in our services, go to our website, healthybump.org. Follow us on Instagram at Healthy Bump Club, and certainly follow our YouTube channel, because that's where we have all these critical conversations about career and pregnancy. How do you decide and how do you plan both, and how do you have relationships when you have a sexually transmitted infection? So we have an extremely transparent team, and we have great discussions. So that's how you find us. But what I do is on a day-to-day basis when I take care of my patients in the office, thankfully because I'm a woman of color, I can have that real social relevant conversation with my patients. And so I'm able to take the standardized training of being a health coach and applying it to the cultures of the women that I treat. So when I say have a healthy diet and eat healthy, I'm able to have that specific conversations that's relevant to the culture of the woman that I'm speaking to. And so I'm able to give her specific instructions about how to balance. For example, if she's a Latinx woman, then I'm a Latina, then I'm able to talk to her about specific types of Latin foods that she should and should not eat and how to balance it, so that people aren't feeling that they have to take on a new culture in order to be healthy. That's not true. Our cultures, our foods, we're able to utilize the same foods in different ways, in different preparation styles, starting to look at labels to be able to make healthier decisions within our culture and not have to leave our culture to be healthy, because that's also the wrong messaging.
Oh, and you are the CEO and founder of the Healthy Bump Club. Let's talk about that, because I definitely want to talk on that now. Congratulations on you being the founder of the Healthy Bump Club. Tell us more about it.
Oh, yes. So we're just so delightful, and it's really the concept behind it is really from my years of just observing women and being in the women's health space, and realizing what works for us and what doesn't work for us. And so looking at how women of color learn, how we tend to interact, how we tend to sort of motivate and move within communities, that's sort of our heritage and our culture. And so all these things that I've learned over the years, I've been able to take my notes, my subconscious notes, and with the impact and with sort of this great new attention for maternal health care, just marrying both things together and being surrounded by women who are equally empowered and powerful in this space, and so committed because not just of our professions, but also because of our personal experiences. And that's what makes us different, is that we talk from a place not just of our education, but of our individual experiences. So I, too, have had my own experiences with healthcare that have been disappointed. I've had complications. I've had disappointing mishaps in my healthcare just as a woman of color, and having to learn how to, even as a healthcare professional, voice that opinion. And we know this, right, because we had Dr. Wallace, who passed away, rest in peace, who's a pediatrician, and she passed away from complications related to her childbirth, and we honored her on our program. Or we can talk about Dr. Susan Moore, who taped her experience with COVID just before she passed because people just didn't believe the severity of her symptoms. And she's a physician. These are clinicians. So we are not exempt from these experiences simply because we're clinicians. As I mentioned earlier, having a certain level of education is not protective. And matter of fact, it makes it worse, and we can certainly dive into the theories behind that. So we go from a place of passion. We're able to provide one-on-one services, coaching services. We're an adjunct to the healthcare system. We're not trying to replace it. We're trying to add to it. And so we provide one-on-one coaching services. We do webinars, and we've been doing webinars that are not necessarily just specific to pregnancy, but also yielding to the current conversation. So we just had a Q&A on COVID vaccine where anybody could attend. It was open door, and it was free. And we utilize our knowledge to help the community with that very difficult decision-making. So our focus is pregnancy, but it's not exclusively pregnancy.
Okay, and thanks for touching on that. Make sure you all follow Healthy Bump Club and definitely get involved with all the amazing things that they have going on. But also, what are your thoughts on, I just saw this yesterday actually on the news, where they're saying that pregnant women can take the COVID vaccine now. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that is actually not necessarily new, just because the American College of OBGYN, as well as the CDC, and as well as the WHO, they had a little bit of a differing opinion in the beginning, but quickly changed their recommendation that we have never withheld the vaccine from pregnant women. And the reason why is because three things. One, we're familiar with messenger RNA, and we're familiar with viral vectors vaccine. So messenger RNA refers to your Moderna vaccine or your Pfizer vaccine, and the adenovirus is used as a vector for your Johnson & Johnson vaccine. And so we have been familiar with these technologies. They're not new. Messenger RNA has been studied for decades. It's just not have ever been used for this specific strain of coronavirus. And so because we know messenger RNA, once it's injected into the body, into those muscle cells, it goes into the cytoplasm, which is the outer area of the cells. It does not enter the nucleus. It does not become a part of the DNA. So scientifically, we've always hypothesized that it would not be transferred to the baby through the placenta because it's not circulating in the body. So that's number one. And then there were animal studies that looked at pregnancy safety as well as fertility. And we can see from those animal studies that the vaccine was safe. And then in the initial trials, oftentimes we do have women who didn't realize that they were pregnant or the pregnancy test wasn't positive at that moment because it was too early. So we did have a small group of women who were in the initial trials, not intentionally, but subsequently, and have been followed, and the outcomes have been great. And we also do know that from the initial administration of the vaccines, that now we have the last data, according to Dr. Riley today, who is a high-risk pregnancy doctor in New York, the last numbers on the registry for anyone who's had the vaccine has been 30,000 women who have been vaccinated who are pregnant, and those outcomes are great. Are there things we still do not know? Yes, we still do not know long-term outcomes, right? And that's always our concern when it comes to children. Scientifically, we do anticipate that the outcomes are going to be great just based on the technology and how it works. But yes, we do not know for sure, and there are going to be and continue to be ongoing observations. So what's happening now is that we're starting the clinical trials, enrolling pregnant women, so we'll be able to have more specific information. But the other thing that we do know is we do know the outcome of pregnancies with COVID. We do know that women who are pregnant are up to 75% more likely to be hospitalized in the ICU and to have miscarriages also. So we do know that in comparison for what we have in the data we have now, the vaccine is way safe for pregnant women to be able to receive.
Oh, wow. Okay. Thanks for sharing this knowledge. This is what I'm saying. Like, a lot of people are not, it's all about knowledge, right? Knowledgeable of that, right? And, thanks for sharing that, because a lot of people think that I've had people that say, they can't take the vaccine because they're pregnant, so it's just a lack of knowledge out here. And so thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing that and
Sure,
really breaking it.
sure. And the same
Yeah.
thing for breastfeeding moms. I know that's a concern, and for women who are undergoing IVF and pregnancy planning. I do want to mention one thing. Certainly, if you are planning to get pregnant, definitely do the vaccine now and not wait for when you're pregnant. So it's much better to complete the course, making sure you give your body enough time to mount the antibodies after you've been vaccinated so that you're fully protected before even getting pregnant. And the benefit of those antibodies through the breast milk, I cannot emphasize that anymore. Not only do we prevent mom from becoming a potential vector of the COVID infection itself to her newborn, but we're also able to transfer those protective antibodies to the newborn. And for pregnant women who are vaccinated, there are some side effects, and I hate to use the word side effects because it's really just symptoms of the immune system being triggered. And if you do have a fever, definitely bring that fever down with Tylenol. Make sure it's safe for you to take Tylenol with your healthcare professional team. But one thing that we do not like is we do not like women having fevers while they're pregnant, because we do know that there are malformation risk associated with just a fever itself. So I do want to make sure that I make those disclaimers.
Oh, thanks for sharing, because that's so important. So I hope that our listeners who are listening really are taking these nuggets down, and really, it definitely is like you stated, if you're looking to get pregnant, or if you are, knowing what you can and cannot do is so important, right? Being knowledgeable of everything, you know, because it's already a risk, right? And so you need to know, especially with COVID-19 going on at this time. And so with that being said, you've created many tables for yourself, Dr. Moore, and for others. So how did you create your seat at the table?
Oh, wow. Out of passion, out of a need to make a change, out of desperation, you would say. Because when you hear numbers like we've been sharing tonight, the statistics both of us have been sharing about maternal health, there's a desperate need for a change to be made. And I you know, who else to make that change but someone who's a part of the same community that's affected? So I almost feel like there really is not a choice for me. You know, I'm a woman of color. I love caring for women, but I would be a hypocrite if I wasn't motivated to help, especially those who look and are like me. And so that's what's really my motivation, is to really make that change. You know, I feel like this is why I'm here. I am a woman of faith. So I do believe that God placed me on this earth, and this is my calling. And my greatest, I would say, failure that I could ever have in life is for God to give me a calling and for not to fulfill it, because he's just been so amazing. So that's been my motivation, is just pleasing God and making sure that he is satisfied with what he's empowered me to do.
I love that. I love that. And what did failure teach you on your journey?
Ooh, I had to get accustomed, because, you know, we all have personality quirks, and I definitely have challenges with perfectionism, and so I've had to really be able to I was in a webinar last year, and I think that this particular woman changed my entire life, because she said in one of the webinars that she too has struggled with being a perfectionist, and she had to learn about it's better to be done than to be perfect. And I have ran with that. As soon as she told me that, I have ran with that, because my biggest failure is really just the pressure that we individually put on ourselves, right? We have these high bars and accomplishments, and we don't allow for us to have that grace. And grace is so hugely important, not just grace for others. Like, sometimes it's easier to be gracious towards others than it is to be gracious towards ourselves. And so I had to learn through failures, you know, I don't even look at them as failures. I look at them as being redirection, because sometimes we're heading in the wrong direction and we're making the wrong decisions, because, you know, we're not all knowing. And so a lot of times when you hit those roadblocks, it's not really a block. It's just a redirection for you to go in a different way. And oftentimes when I'm opening myself up to really think about that and to really sit in and be mindful in that moment, then I'm able to really see, oh my gosh, this is why I'm being redirected. You know, this is a better option and this is a better way. So I now look at these quote-unquote roadblocks as an exciting time because it's a time where I know that I am being redirected, that I was going in the wrong direction. So I embrace it. And I'm still human, so I still have heartbreaks and I still feel disappointed at times, but I do make sure that I don't dwell in those moments, but check myself and remind myself, oh, you're being redirected.
Whew, that was powerful. That was powerful. Thanks for sharing that. Thanks for sharing it. Well, Dr. Moore, you're very successful. So what did success teach you?
Success is pleasing God. Success for me is completing my mission on this earth, making sure that I'm touching lives and bringing some value to someone else's life, helping someone in some way. That's something I try to say every morning. Sometimes I'm a little tired, and sometimes I forget to say it, but I really do. That's my mantra in the morning when I'm alert and oriented, is to really ask God to allow me to be a blessing in some way to someone that day. And for me to start with that mindset, so I'm open to see the opportunity to do just that, beyond just my routine care of women from day to day. But it allows me to reach that woman that needs that special attention that day, because I'm already starting my mindset in the morning with being open to seeing it. And so that's what success is for me, that every day that I'm able to complete whatever mission or whatever life that God has for me to touch for that day in the way that He's made me.
Well, I just wanted to tell you to keep continuing to be the definition of her story, okay? Her story, this trailblazing and creating space and taking up space, right? And also being the solution. I mean, I'm loving everything that you're doing. Since I saw you on Clubhouse, I was like, oh, my God, I have to interview her. She's so amazing.
I was so empowered because it was you and a group of other young ladies, and I happened to pop into, it was my first few days on Clubhouse, and I happened to pop into the room, and I'm just so thankful that I popped into the room because I was so inspired. Your energy is just so great. And so I was just like, oh, my gosh, I have got to connect with her. So thank you so much for reaching out. I appreciate you and the whole team that I met that day. You guys are just inspiring, and I've seen all the things that you're accomplishing. I'm not gonna not end this without mentioning that. I'm so excited for all the accolades that you're receiving and all the work that you're doing and providing a platform like this so that our community can be informed. So I thank you for the things that you're doing.
You are welcome. You are welcome. But, hey, we have to know, what do you have planned for the rest of this year in 2021? We are finishing up the first quarter, getting ready to finish it up. So what can we expect from you, Dr. Moore?
We're having some amazing webinars coming up, so definitely follow us to know which ones are coming up next. The next one is going to be in April, and we'll be talking about how do you live with pelvic pain. Ooh, let's talk about it, because a lot of women are living with pelvic pain and don't know what to do and kind of believe that this is just how life is supposed to be. Not exactly. We're here to help you between our mental health providers, my pelvic floor therapist. Hello. We are here to help women be free from this pelvic pain and be in control. So that is our next webinar coming up next month. Definitely follow us so that you know the details and be able to sign up.
So definitely make sure you all follow and support Dr. Moore. Tell them how they can follow you on Clubhouse, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Sure. So we are very active on Instagram. You'll see a lot of our quick posts that we try to educate, and we try to keep it lighthearted and very 100% real. We are definitely real women, have a real conversation, but we are professionals, and we are here to give you the real facts. So follow us on Instagram at Healthy Bump Club. Follow us on YouTube with all of our detailed conversations. You are not going to want to miss those videos. We talk about everything. YouTube, you will find us on the Healthy Bump Club. You will find me personally on LinkedIn under my given name, Taska Moore, and you can also find us on Clubhouse under our individual names. You will find me under Dr. T. Moore, but usually where I am, you will find the whole team.
So make sure you follow and support her and connect with her, because she is definitely somebody you need to know and connect with. Dr. Moore, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to come to the table tonight. This has been a powerful interview, and I cannot wait to invite you back to the table.
Thank you so much, Dr. Little. I appreciate you and the Creative Broadcasting team. You guys be blessed.
You are welcome. Thank you. And I would like to give a special thanks to my intern, Sarah, who is a Tennessee State University alumni. And I would also like to give a special thanks to my intern, Vontaria, who is a student at Winston-Salem State University. You all may follow me on Facebook at Dr. Ashley Little and on Instagram at _Ashley A. Little. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Creating Your Seat at the Table, where Ashley speaks with corporate professionals, celebrities, entrepreneurs, authors, and speakers who are transitioning or have transitioned to entrepreneurship.